Okay, so it's story time. This is about when I was just about to graduate and come out to California when I was in Connecticut. I was 17, and what happened was I was partying because once I knew I was graduating, my buddies and I were basically drinking like a 12 pack each. And I had two buddies that I would drink with, Brian and Noah, and we were drinking about a case and a half a night for about, I would say, maybe 2 months, somewhere in that vicinity. And what happened was, I went golfing with my dad, and one of the guys that was in our uh, golf number was basically a friend of his offered me a beer, and it was like a warm hams. I accepted it, and then what happened was when I got home that night, wasn't feeling good and literally was like completely blowing liquid out the back end. And I'm talking like vegetable soup broth with no solids. And I thought it was just a one time deal, and it turned out it lasted like over 3 weeks. So it's bad because if anybody's ever had it, you get gas pains, and then the first few times you try to let stuff go, it's like, oh no, you got to go, you know, change your clothes and shower. So we're at this party, and it was basically at a place called Cow Hill Road, and it was like this uh, back road that went up to this road that you would just turn down, and it was like a dirt road that people would drop furniture and pallets and shit off, and people would just park their cars, and then we'd start a bonfire with whatever was left there. The whatever the furniture was there, and then people would park their cars on either side, and then um, you would just party down there with a keg. So I'm there, and a lot of people that knew me were like, "Dude, you're being a little like low key tonight. What's up?" And I'm like, I'm just a little bummed about you know graduating and moving to California. And they're like, "Oh, really?" And like maybe 10 minutes later, I tried to let one go, and it's like I literally shat myself. So I'm like, "Ah, shit. Oh, hey, I forgot something," and I jump back in my car and I zip back to my place, throw my stuff in the washing machine, jump in the shower, and then come out, throw on some new clothes, and zip back up to the party. So I'm literally like leery about anything going on after that. And Noah, one of the guys that I'm hanging out with and partying with, my buddy, um, has got some girls at this place called Hammonasset, which is a state park. And during the summer, so we must have actually just graduated because these girls wouldn't have been allowed to stay there if it wasn't summer. But it was Hammonasset. It was a state park, and you would get a permit to basically camp overnight or for a couple nights, like a weekend. And some girls from our high school, a year younger than us, were camping there, and one of them I was dating. Well, she had some hot girlfriends that Noah was digging on, and he's like, "Hey, dude, they're camping at da 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 da." He goes, "Amy's gonna be there. You want to go?" And I'm like, "Dude, you don't understand. I am. You don't." And he knew, and he's like, "Oh, dude, come on, you got to back me up." And I'm like, "Noah, seriously, dude, you don't understand how bad." And he's like, "Oh, come on, dude," and basically talked me into it. So I'm like, "Okay." So I go for it, and the deal was we weren't allowed to be there after like 10 p.m. And it was like around that time, like you had to either purchase a permit to stay overnight, or we couldn't be there because it was like each camp had the allotted amount of people that you would pay for the permit. So I guess the girls were we had to park somewhere outside, like nearby the campground, and it's a huge park facility with a beach and stuff in Connecticut, right along the water. So we'd park vehicles, jump in the back of their station wagons, and throw blankets over us, and they drive us in. And about 10 minutes into maybe 20 minutes or something like that, we're talking. Well, the park rangers come by, and they're checking permits, and everybody, you had to have your ID had to fit in the number of people or whatever. So, and it's a fine if you get caught. So what happened was we were chatting with this other guy, Steve. Brian wasn't there for some reason, but we were chatting with this other guy, Steve Anderson, and the cops were checking IDs, and we were like, "Oh yeah, no problem." So all I hear is this like, "Run!" And the three of us bolt, and we start running through the campsites and then get to a road because we figured it's the only way. I mean, we didn't even know which way we got in or whatever. We figured a road was the best access out. So we're running along the road, and Noah decides to truck off into the reeds, which in Connecticut there's all these tall reeds and a lot of these like water boggy areas, and all you hear is the reeds like snapping and going down, and you couldn't see him, but you could see movement about 15, 20 feet in, and he's just trucking and going down. But you have like shin high water in a lot of places. And I was like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? I just kept running. Steve and I were running, and then we slowed up as we got to the entrance exit area, which were basically these booths with park rangers inside. And a park ranger was, because he'd been, I guess, radioed, but it was on one side looking out. And luckily he was looking the opposite way. And as we got past, I guess he kind of heard us and then came running around and started yelling. And we just hauled ass and took off. And as we're running like this. There was a T in the road, right or left. Steve, and there was a grassy area off of the road. Steve cut across the grass and trips on a sprinkler, and eats it hard. And I cut just on the edge of the T on the road, and then hauled ass to the right, and about maybe 15 feet up, I saw a willow tree, because I was just in bad shape, like gassing, and it was like just my bowels. And I see a weeping willow, and I hit it and then slide down, and there was like this downgrade underneath it where the willow was up here and stopped, and then it, was like a downslope underneath it, which you couldn't see until you actually got in it. So I was hidden by the reeds of the weeping willow, the branches. And the state park ranger, I'm talking like maybe 45 seconds, maybe a minute, whatever, I could hear him run past, and I could see it kind of like shadows, because it was still, light enough, or where the moon was out or whatever, you could still see stuff. And I just held my breath as he went past, and then I never heard him come around, so they went somewhere else. And probably about 20 minutes later, I came out and just kind of crept my way towards where my vehicle was, and then hung out, and I could see a park ranger car parked up a bit. Well, about maybe half hour later, I hear Noah coming, and Steve, and they're walking, towards the car, and I whispered to him, I'm like, hey dude, it's me. And they're like, hey, a ranger's around the corner. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, hey, I'm gonna throw you the keys, and then grab the car and slow up as you get to me with the passenger side window down, and I'll jump in. So they did that, and I got in the car, and we drove past the Rangers with me ducked in the back seat, and got out. Well, it turns out Noah and Steve both got tickets, and it was like $60 or something like that for, this was 1985. I graduated, so but like $60, and then Noah lost his high top shoes in the reeds, because he lost $30 pair of shoes plus got a $60 ticket. Steve just got a $60 ticket plus a nasty ankle injury, and I got away completely scot-free with dysentery. So that's my high school graduation and dysentery, explosive diarrhea story. Cheers and happy Thursday to you.